don't have our chair here today. Oh, you're back. Yay. We don't have but it doesn't say that we're recording.
I just
don't
hit
wanna- Yeah,
recording
heard
and
it.
yeah, I just hit
You
it
did?
and it says
Oh.
it's recording.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, like I said, we have kind of a small group at this point. So, oh, Brandon's in the waiting room. Okay.
No, I admitted him already.
Oh, okay. It still says he's in my waiting room. I
Oh.
guess I have a different waiting room than you. I don't know. Check it again, okay? Make sure, because I don't see him on here yet.
I'm definitely here.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay. All right. Well, I got some funky things happening. So happily I've got Michelle on that end so that she's having better luck than I am. So anyway, so far Tim Schmutzer is not here yet. He's our chair, so he can't
Nope,
call the
Tim's
meeting.
here. Karen, Tim's here too.
I'm here.
Wow. Okay, well, I have no idea what's going on. Is that interesting? Good. Well, Tim, then, hello. I can't see you. You can see me, I guess, but my window's.
Oh, there she went. Shoot. Maybe we'll have to admit her.
Yeah.
I think her
Michelle, in the
internet is
meantime, are you able to fill in and facilitate if Karen is kind of in and out on for whatever
Yep.
IT issue she has going on? Awesome.
Yep.
Let's call to order and start on the agenda.
Okay. Can we just do a round robin quick about just introduce ourselves and where we're from? I'm Michelle Thomas. I work with Karen part-time. 50% of my time is with the RTCC, the Regional Transportation Coordinating Council. Tim, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Tim Schmutzer. I been on the RTCC for its inception and work at Phase Industries, a provider of day employment and transportation services for students and adults with disabilities.
Tammy?
I'm Tammy Seelan. I'm the Volunteer Driver Program Manager at TriCap.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Sarah?
I'm Sarah Triber. I am on the ECRTCC board, representing Kanabec County, which is why I'm on this committee. But my day job, I work for Mille Lacs Corporate Ventures. I do housing and business projects. We build lots of things.
Thanks for coming today. Brandon?
I'm Brandon Nermy. I'm the director for Arrowhead Transit.
Thanks for coming. Mike? Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. Michelle Lichtig with MnDOT. And I am the project manager with the RTCCs.
We had a long day yesterday, so I appreciate you coming. Elliot?
I'm Elliot McFadden. I work in the Office of Transit and Active Transportation at MnDOT. I am the Greater Minnesota Shared Mobility Coordinator.
Thanks for coming. Tony?
Good morning, Tony Buttacavoli, Executive Director at Family Pathways, and I haven't been on the group for a while. We currently don't have a transportation program, but I do have experience with Office of Traffic Safety grants and Towards Zero Death grants, just not the passenger side of things. So
Great, thanks for joining us. Someone is on the phone. I don't know who that is. Mike, is that you that is on the phone? Don't know. Okay, so we'll just get started then and hope that Karen can.
Forgot Nikki. Or did I miss?
Sorry?
I think you forgot Nikki Klenderer.
Oh, sorry, Nikki. I'm sorry.
That's okay,
Good
Michelle.
morning.
Hi.
We're having technical
Everybody.
difficulties here, so
She's all
trying to do-
discombobbled.
yeah.
That's all right. So Nikki Clanderud, and I'm the manager of community benefit and engagement at Cambridge Medical Center, which is a part of Allina Health. Similar to Tony, I haven't been on these calls for a while because I always have so many conflicting meetings during this time, but I wanted to jump on today just to get some updates to see where this group is at and try to figure out how to re-engage in the work.
Great. We will try to engage you more or make something happen. How about that? Okay, so the first thing on the agenda that Karen had up that I have is we have the East Central Regional Transportation Coordinating Council has been given the great honor and okay to be one of the first groups, part of the first cohort of moving Greater Minnesota forward. And we're really excited about that. It's going to be very interesting. And so Elliot came on to tell us what that opportunity is going to be all about and kind of explain to you all what it is. So I'll just kind of turn it over to you, Elliot, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yep, and let me know, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me here today. Excited to talk with you about a program that we got an application from y'all and have accepted you into the first cohort. I'm going to talk a little bit generally about the program, and then I saw Karen came back on, or Michelle. I don't know if you guys want to fill in kind of the details of what you had applied for, but
I'm
I'll
little
just give
afraid of doing anything.
Okay. Well, as I said, I am the Greater Minnesota Shared Mobility Coordinator. That program is a part of our Office of Transit and Active Transportation. It's funded by FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, as part of our state rideshare program. And the program itself, which previously had focused really mostly on van pool and carpool options, was expanded to look at all sorts of shared mobility technologies and starting in 2020. And that's when I came on board with MnDOT to lead the program. We have three core areas of work. The first being looking at building the understanding of shared mobility options. So some of you maybe have been invited in the past. We did a webinar series back through 2020 through 2022, kind of introducing different shared mobility options and also bringing in speakers from around the country. We've also funded several research projects that are looking at different aspects, including how we fund shared mobility projects, as well as building a guide for public-private partnerships between public entities and private providers. The second area is around building a consortium, a network of shared mobility supporters. And we've primarily done that through our financial support of the Minnesota Shared Mobility Collaborative, which used to be the Twin Cities Shared Mobility Collaborative, but with MnDOT's funding has now become a statewide organization. And actually Karen serves on the steering committee for that organization. And that's really a place for more knowledge sharing and sort of building networks. And then finally, identifying opportunities for shared mobility pilots. And that's where the Moving Greater Minnesota Forward program comes in. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, what do we mean by shared mobility? So these are services that are shared among users. So those are services that can be shared at the same time or independently. So examples of programs that are shared at the same time. Public transit is the really kind of core service that we think of there, but also taxis and ride hail, carpooling, and van pooling as well. Independently, so that's where people are sharing vehicles at different times. So car sharing or short-term car rental, bike share, scooter share, and delivery. And so what we're doing with moving Greater Minnesota forward is a vision of something that's actually never been done in the country before, which is to have a shared mobility innovation ecosystem that focuses on the unique needs of rural, tribal, and small urban systems. We have looked at all sorts of innovative programs around the country and around the world. And there's a large focus on highly urbanized areas with that, but we know that not all of those solutions necessarily scale down to smaller communities, and we really need to have a place where we can focus on those unique needs and making and right sizing solutions for communities. So we're really trying to make Minnesota a leader in this space for smaller communities and looking at innovative mobility solutions. We're focused on a program that's going to be in 3 phases. One of the things we looked at in other innovation ecosystems around the country and around the world is there's a lot of focus on getting folks to do pilots. There's not as much focus on some of the early development work to make sure that the idea is well matched to a community. And there's very little thought about what happens after a pilot. So if something's successful, how do you continue to grow and scale that to become a permanent part of the community? So we are taking these 3 phases to try to address and provide a really clear roadmap for projects from early idea development to real world testing to scaling, and trying to bring an all sector collaboration of resources and technical support to the table. So we are optimizing success. So the first phase, idea development, is starting with rolling cohorts of projects, and that's the one that you guys are going to be participating in, which is phase 1. Every 6 months, we're going to be opening up applications, and we just closed the first round and have selected 8 projects for the first cohort, and that focuses on taking an idea and really developing it to the point where it is ready to go out and apply for funding or raise money or do a real world demonstration. This is a very open process, so we really are welcoming anybody with an innovative idea, or maybe it's a program that's been done somewhere else but has never been done in your community, and you're interested in exploring that. And so transit agencies, municipalities, nonprofits, small businesses and entrepreneurs, really anybody can apply with an idea in that space. And in our first cohort, we have a really good mix of that, different kinds of entities that have applied with different ideas. So that's kind of exciting. I mentioned, or I don't know if I mentioned it, but Lean Startup is the model that we're using. It's a product development model that came out of the tech industry, and it really focuses on spending a lot of time very early talking and communicating with people that are actually going to use a service and getting continuous feedback. So the idea here is that you're spending a lot of time really testing out an idea with the least amount of resources that you need to put into it to give people an idea of what you're trying to do, so that you can learn from that. And you build something, you put it in front of the folks that are going to use it, you learn from their interactions with it, and then you continue to refine until you get to the point where you're ready to make the larger investment in something real. And so what you end up is a process that, in the long run, saves time and money. It reduces the risk, so you're much more likely to have something that's very well aligned to what the need in the community is, and you get a better product at the end. So the program that you all are going to be going through is being led by a consultant that we brought on, ILT Studios, which is based out of St. Cloud, and they already do lean startup work with Launch Minnesota, which is an entrepreneur network that is funded through Minnesota Employment and Economic Development Department. And the course is a 10-week course. The cohorts meets weekly online, and you work collaboratively on developing your project idea. There's some work outside of the class to kind of get ready for the next one and present. With the end being a pitch session, so a chance to present to a review group your idea and get further feedback, so then you can be ready to go ahead and pursue demonstration funding. There's also additional 6 months of coaching from ILT Studios after the end of the course, and we do for projects, kind of all the stipends have been set for this go round, but for future go rounds we have stipends available for up to 6 projects. Then in phase 2, we're looking at opportunities to go ahead and fund the scaling of projects from or actually the implementation of projects from that early idea to real world. In that stage, we're going to be looking for community partners like municipalities, planning organizations, transit agencies, that we will be looking at a grant opportunity to actually fund. And then they may be producing that project themselves, or they may be partnering with a private entity. And that funding, we are going to encourage folks from phase 1 to look at that. If projects that have not gone through our phase 1 but have done similar kind of development work can apply for that as well. And we're going to do an annual call starting in January of $500,000 a year, and with the goal of getting those awarded by April of each year. And those funds can be used to fully fund a project, or we are also looking at this as a multiplier. So how can we use this to pursue federal grants, to provide local match money, philanthropic grants, private investment, or any local community funding that's being brought to the table. We'll also have a process for companies that are trying to do something innovative that are wanting to be matched up with a community called an unsolicited proposal. And that'll be a process we'll be launching next year as well. And then finally, looking at scaling. So, once a project has gone through a pilot, keeping an eye on that roadmap of how we grow it. And so we see 3 funding avenues to kind of move beyond that pilot fund. And one is a spinoff for private investment and working with our colleagues with the Launch Minnesota program if there's a commercialization opportunity there to connect with private investment. The second is looking at direct procurement of services through new or existing programming. So especially if there's a real community need, there's likely public funding that's available for that. And then the third is if this is something that really needs to continue to leverage different dollar sources, looking at the establishment of a public-private partnership entity to continue the project beyond that. So this just gives you a really kind of very brief overview of those kind of 3 cycles that a project can go through, of that early idea development, that 10-week course, and we're running a process every 6 months. So folks that missed this deadline can apply for the next cohort, or if they don't make the cut on this cohort, can further develop their idea and resubmit. Testing, which is that up to 2 years of pilot funding, and looking at partnering with local partners, and doing annual calls in January of each year, and then scaling and looking at really working in that phase 2 time frame to make sure that we have a roadmap to continue to grow the program if it's successful beyond that. just a really quick summary of where we are on the calendar. September 1 was our original deadline. We extended that a few days to give folks a little more time to get in applications. So September 5th was the final deadline. We have selected our cohort and they are beginning next week. We'll be opening up the second phase, the second phase 1 cohort for applications later on in the fall. The initial phase 1 cohort will finish in November. And then again, January will be when we open up phase 2 project proposals. And with that, I will wrap it up and see if folks have any questions.
Erin, do you want to give a little explanation of what we submitted?
Absolutely. Let's see here. I'm hoping everything's working now. I'm not going to put my picture up there because I think I broke the camera. What we submitted was the top priority of our local human services transit coordination plan, which was hubs, transfer stations. And so what we are looking to do first of all, we have a survey that's out right now and it's been out since I think April. I mean, it's been out for quite a long time. And we're going to keep it going until about November, because I think by November we'll be done with all of our outreach events and we'll have as much opportunity as we would ever have to get survey responses. And what those surveys are is asking people, do they have the need to travel further than they can currently utilizing the public transit services that we currently have? And so far we've gotten probably about 60 responses, and the majority of them, I mean, I'm not good with numbers, but I would say 85, 90, 95% are yes. And so what we would like to do is figure out a way to connect our transit providers together, so at a specific site, so that people can travel, from say Caneva County into Mille Lacs County, or from Caneva County in further into Chisago, Isati, whatever, moving around the whole region. And we've recently found out also that Anoka County and Washington County are really interested in this as well. And when we were at our meeting yesterday, we had an opportunity to talk further with them, and we're going to be meeting with them again, really to hone down on this idea with them. And I know that they were not able to apply for this grant because this was just for Greater Minnesota, but I still think that they are a viable connection that we need to consider making, working with the metropolitan area, moving down to the Twin Cities. People need to get all over. And if we can do a pilot project that works for us, we could possibly, using these thinkers that Elliot knows of with this ILT group, maybe this is something that could be done all over. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, and that's the whole thing. This first part of this is learning what are our options. What with a group of people brainstorming and getting all this out there, we could come up with something that nobody's ever thought of before. That's really exciting. So that was, I just, kind of threw that ball out there, and Elliot caught it, and I'm excited. I'm really happy to be in phase 1 because it's all new to all of us, and I always like being on the bottom, so working our way up. So that's what we've got going on. Any questions about that?
Yeah, and I would just add kind of 2 things. One, that part of this is also, there may be other funding options or other partnerships that come out of this that kind of, to Karen's point, part of this is that process. And so, when we talk about phase 2, we have an established fund for that, but there may be other funding sources, other things that we can help connect the projects with. And I am in conversations with some folks in Metro Council and talking about our programming and the regional solicitations they do, and making sure that we're coordinating if there's regional things that kind of go between Greater Minnesota and Metro. So I think, part of this is just getting people, connecting and in the room and talking about it. And the second thing we did do, just a little sample work session with ILT Studios to, give people a chance to kind of see how their system works. And I think Karen was on that. I was on it. I was pleasantly surprised, Zoom based programming can be a little trying, and they have a really great engaging program that really gets people interacting and turning their cameras on and talking to each other. And so I'm excited to see how this first program rolls out, because I think folks are gonna come out the other end, with some good ideas developed and some relationships built.
Absolutely, I love that. I see
ILT
Michelle.
ILT came to one of our economic development regional meetings and did a little, it was more than a demonstration, but had all of us kind of work through the process in a shortened time frame. And it was fascinating and very engaging. And so it's amazing how quick things can happen when you've got so many people in the room and somebody pushing the ideas forward. So it's going to be a great thing for all of those folks you have in this cohort.
Question now, Elliot, will we be working with some of the others that have also gotten the funding like we have?
Yep.
Are we
Yeah.
cool?
So
Good.
the cohort sessions, you'll be with all the other folks that were admitted in the groups, and there'll be like breakouts like we did with the kind of the sample workshop. So you'll get to know the other projects and be able to, give feedback to each other.
And I misspoke. There wasn't funding with this at all. We didn't ask for any stipend because I didn't know. I mean, what do we, so I didn't know what to put there. So I didn't put anything. Didn't you see I checked that box, Elliot? No, just kidding. So, good. All right. Michelle, did you have a question? Michelle Lichtig.
Okay, there you go. It's more, and I'll get my hand out. It's like turn everything on, lower the hand. I'll get the hand down in just a sec. I just wanted when we try to think about how things interconnect with other things and so forth. So this is an excellent example. The RTCCs and mobility management in general are really the incubators of ideas and trying a lot of different things and coming together and having ideas ready so that when an opportunity comes along, they can go and explore this. So I want to go back and reflect how all of you as stakeholders have spent time identifying different needs and where you want to go, because in mobility management and looking at who needs what in your community and becoming very customer centric about that, and how can you gather all of that. From that, you came up with transit hubs. And I know that this has been a discussion that has been around within your RTCC for 3 years. And that's something to acknowledge, how long it takes to bring stakeholders together, to come to look at ideas and solutions, and to keep it live, so to speak, and to keep moving it forward within the parameters you have, so that you're able to really access opportunities when they come along. So this is really the marriage of what mobility management is to opportunities.
Hear, hear. Yeah, no, I think it's been going on longer than that, because I remember our first RTCC meeting and Noel Shugard was there, and I brought it up, and I had a funny name called Chubbs, and everybody laughed, and I was stupid. I didn't really understand what was so funny about it, but it was connectivity hubs, Anyway, so he said, "You're way ahead of yourself, Karen. Slow down." And I'm like, "Well, wait, why?" So Finally now, here we are. Oh my goodness, I'm so
Yeah.
happy. Well, we'll see where we get. And I mean, we'll just take our baby steps. But maybe those strides will get longer and we'll get somewhere. I'm excited. Thanks, Elliot.
Karen, I just
Yeah,
had
thank
a
you.
more general question. For the ILT, the cohort that's going to go through the 10-week course in coaching, is that just one or two members from the regional transit authorities, or is that advisory groups, or who does that include those sessions?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, Elliot, what you're expecting. Who should we have at those meetings? Anybody who would like to in the advisory board?
Yeah, I mean, the 10-week course is, that's doing some real, you know, detailed work around developing the idea. So I think you'd want to have, I don't think you're limited to one person. If there are multiple people working on it, they're welcome to participate in the project, but or in the program. But I think if it's somebody that's more kind of on the higher level or on the strategic level or advisory level, there it's 4 hours on a Zoom, and then there's out of class work. So that's probably not as appropriate. There are opportunities along the way. There'll be sort of a midpoint. There's like a 30-second pitch night midway through where folks have, kind of, or they're sharing what they've done so far. And there may be opportunities for folks to be able to attend and kind of get an update and see what's happening there. And then the final showcase as well. So I think for folks who are interested in hearing what's going on, there'll be opportunities to intersect with the programming. But I think the idea is the folks that are attending the weekly cohort would be the ones that are kind of the lead staff people working on the actual development.
Yep. So the course is for the cohorts more so than the advisory groups.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. So I think Karen's right now is the contact person. So she's the one getting, because she was the one on the application. So she's getting the the invites. If there's any additional folks that are going to be doing, work with her, then she can share that with ILT and they can include them in. But the idea is that it's the folks that are doing the kind of direct program develop or project development work.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I just wanted to clarify if I had to start looking at a schedule or a staff. So thanks.
Right.
And I'll be dragging Michelle Thomas along with me here. So yeah, wonderful.
Karen or Elliot, actually, first, just to parrot what Michelle said, this is a really big deal. So Elliot, thanks for making this opportunity even possible. It was so cool when I first saw the email. I'm like, really? And Karen and Michelle, nicely done getting selected, and this is great. So I'm curious, how many other selectees or groups were accepted in phase one? Do any have similar project goals or ideas that they identified in their application? And are any crossing over into our region as well?
So we had 8 that were selected. So there'll be 8 projects in this cohort. There wasn't anything, there weren't any other projects that were a similar idea. So they were all kind of different. So kind of in your region, so Leaf Rides, which is a scooter system in Duluth, is looking at how they can expand and possibly do winter operations for their scooters and maybe bikes. So they're in the program, and I'm trying to think if there's any others kind of in your general region. I think the others are kind of south and west. So I may be forgetting one. Now I'll be very intimately familiar with all these projects in a few weeks, but but you know, it varied from, you know, organizations looking at nonprofits that serve different kinds of communities, trying to address, you know, transportation needs, you know, maybe currently using something like a van that's kind of on its last legs and trying to figure out, you know, are we going to buy another van? Are we going to partner with somebody else to do a different kind of service to help our clients get where they need to go? To, you know, somebody that's looking at trying to build a regional trip planner for these kinds of services. So it really varied. We had, you know, we had some cities that are in the cohort. We've got some nonprofits. We've got a couple of small businesses. So it's a really good mix and kind of a good spread geographically across the state.
Thank you. Hey, is there any crossover between this project and anything MnCOTA is doing in their working groups right now? Or at least communication between the two? I don't, structurally, I can't quite kind of figure out how communication occurs between MnDOT and its divisions and MnCOTA, but there's some of the stuff here that seems like it would blend in well with some of the priorities MnCOTA has identified in removing barriers.
I'd probably let Michelle
yeah.
address that.
Yeah, we do. We have been identified in removing barriers, and this has been a project that has been occurring outside of what MnCOTA has been doing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? All right. Well, thank you, Elliot. Thank you very, very much.
I'll just put in one last pitch. You know, anybody who's on the call and, you know, outside of the work you do on RTCCs, if you've got something that your organization's thinking about, you know, in the future, or you just want to be included when we do new calls, feel free to send me an email. I'll drop my email in the chat here. And I'll include you on that. And as I said, the cohorts are every 6 months. So we'll be opening up another one in the fall. I think the next one, I haven't gotten the official schedule yet, but I think I'll be starting after the first of the year. So, you know, we're going to be looking for new folks with new ideas. And so if something else comes up that you're thinking about, feel free. Or if you want to reach out and talk to me and see if what you're thinking about might be a good match, I'm happy to chat as well. So
Thank you. That's awesome.
thanks.
I was going to say something. Okay, that's typical. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm hoping that, you know, there are more ideas that come out of this and more projects that come out of it in our region. So, yeah, be sure you take down Elliot's information, and there you go. It's in the chat. Good deal. Thank you.
I'm also going to put a link into the program itself on the MnDOT site. We do have a webinar that goes into that was kind of a reduced version of the description of the whole program. So if you are more interested in hearing more, there's a webinar on that as well that's about 30 minutes on the whole program.
Cool. Great. All right, well, we can let you go then, Elliot. We're going to move on with our meeting then. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we're so psyched to get moving ahead, because this is where we need to go. Okay, moving into our next bullet point on the agenda, has to do with the mobility managers meeting that we had yesterday over in St. Cloud. And it was included many of the RTCCs, and Michelle, I don't know where was everybody there, and then also some
one.
Oh yeah, that was Robin Rohr. The TCAPs is okay. Anyway, the TCAPs were there as well from the Twin Cities. So we had an opportunity to all get together face to face, see one another, meet one another we'd never met before. And it was quite exciting, and we had quite a learning process. We had the National Center for Mobility Management there, from Boston, Judy Shanley, and a fellow named Steve Workman. And we went through a whole process of the MSAT, which is the Mobility Management Sustainability Assessment Tool. And it was really interesting. We learned a lot, and it can be used in a lot of different formats or reasons why a person would want to check into the sustainability of a project that you're working on, how you can measure that. And so I believe that Michelle Lichtig would like to give us a little slide presentation about yesterday's event. And Michelle, are you ready to go? And if you are, you're muted.
Then I'm not ready to go, right?
I wasn't sure if you stepped away for a second.
Yeah, sorry. So let me just pull this up and we can be on our way here. And I'm going to start my slideshow. Okay, so I have to become a co-host.
I did.
And have you made me a co-host?
I have. I think if you just try to screen share, you'll be able to.
Okay. Oh, okay. Even better. Okay.
Now, does everybody know that Michelle Lichtig is our MnDOT mobility management? What is your title? Program manager?
Program manager, yes. And let me
Okay,
just try to get the share started. Did I get the
Yep,
right?
it did. It did go for a sec.
Do you see a blue slide?
Not
It
anymore,
was up
but
for
we
a
did.
second, then it's gone.
Okay, let's try it again.
Must be something going on in the atmosphere. I don't know. There you go. So,
Is that okay?
yes.
Okay, so rock and roll. Okay. Thanks, Karen. Well, what I want to, I appreciate Karen letting me speak at this point in the agenda, because this is really the update. So we were able to have a wonderful opportunity yesterday with the Federal Transportation Administration, two representatives that came out to our community. And so why did they choose Minnesota? And why at this point? We were selected, well, let's put it this way. We didn't ask to be have this workshop, but FTA has been looking at mobility management projects, and they have been looking at mobility management projects that are really supporting and sustaining some significant federal goals and outcomes. And Minnesota is aligning and moving so quickly in that type of alignment, more so than any other mobility management project. So FTA has this opportunity for 2 states, and we're just one of 2 states, to be part of this workshop. And this workshop is to go for even a deeper dive, because if you're a new network of mobility managers, this really wouldn't support the work that people would need. It would be a little bit too advanced. So because the work that we are doing in Minnesota is so outcome driven, we're saying, where do we want to be? When all of you come together and you're putting out the work plan, you're setting out the outcomes and then working out the pathway as to how are you going to get to those outcomes? What activities are you going to be doing? Who's going to be involved? How will we know that we're reaching some of our milestones? And always looking at what are those outcomes. And so that's a big portion of the drive when we talk about the logic model. The logic model is a reporting document. What we really should be talking about is when we come to these meetings is how are we doing with the outcomes that we're striving towards? What are some of the key things that are happening? And so with that, the FTA has another tool that meshes beautifully with the work that we're doing here. So I'm going to take you through this a little bit, and let's see where we're going. So you can get this to advance. Okay. So when we came together yesterday in our workshop in St. Cloud, we're not asking the mobility managers to reinvent the wheel. What we're asking them to do is to integrate the work that they're doing with the outcome measures that we're looking here, and also looking at the mobility management sustainability tool. And when we're talking about sustainability, we're just talking about, well, what does it take for an organization to strengthen its partnerships? Because that's a key part of our work that we have in outcomes. But this mobility management assessment tool asks those questions in a slightly different way, so that each RTCC can really sort of assess, how are we doing? And there's no right or wrong answer. So, and it gives you some tools to say, well, we're doing pretty good on that, but how can we do better or more? So it really meshes quite well. And so when we talk about change theory, we're talking about the outcomes that we're striving for, the inputs. Who's going to help us? Is it time, money? What are the activities that are going to be happening? What are some of the outputs that we can start seeing as we come to our outcomes? So this is a perfect example of the conversation that in talking about hubs. And so your outcome was about how are we going to make sure the outcome that you wanted was people using various types of transit and transportation to be able to access this type of different types of transportation and so forth. So that has been sitting out there as an outcome for a long time, and you have been constantly driving activities towards that. So yesterday, I want to break down this slide, because to me, this is the big wraparound of what yesterday was about. This is Steve Workman that was presenting a slide. And when he talks about mobility management, he said, at its heart, mobility management is for people, by people. So what does that mean? It is for the individual. It's very customer centric, and it's by people. It's by the stakeholders coming in, helping identify issues, barriers, and solutions. So that's a great way to think about this. And with some apologies, my slides are not quite as polished yet. And so I'm kind of asking all of you to be guinea pigs for this. Michelle Thomas mentioned what a long day the workshop was. And so I quickly got up early this morning and tried to see how I could capture that information and share it with you. So I was trying to break it down. So we all know that there are focuses. I think silos isn't quite a fair way to talk about it, but a transit service is thinking about transit passengers. Bicycle services are thinking about bicycle users. Volunteer transportation, obviously, they're thinking about their passenger. Non-emergency transportation services are thinking about their users. Okay, so they have their service, they have their customer. And then we have organizations that have to be very focused. And some organizations, Family Pathways is here on the call, and they are an agency that does look at different populations, but many organizations are very specific in the population perhaps that they're serving. So aging services, they're looking at services for older adults. So you kind of get the picture of how everybody has a very specific focus, first on the transportation, then on their organization and the services that they develop. But when we think about who could be the customer, this is the big landscape that RTCCs and mobility managers have to look at. Well, our customer could be an older person, could be a low-income working adult, could be a veteran, a person with a disability, school-aged children, somebody who's transit dependent. So what does that mean? So that means that when all of you come together, you're taking all of those different boxes, right? And you're saying, okay, we're talking about transit, we're talking about volunteer, non-emergency. This is a venue that doesn't normally happen. We're also working with organizations that maybe don't normally come together. So we're also talking about different types of customers, because maybe all of you are not always serving all these different types of customers, but you're hearing from each other. So then when we talk about the mobility management perspective, very customer centric. We're saying, who needs to be served? Where do you need to go? And how are you going to get there? So if the mobility management is customer centric, this is maybe sort of an example of, you know, we might one day be working with on an issue that about volunteer transportation. We might be working with an area agency on aging for an older adult that needs to get to a medical provider. So another day it might be a transit agency, and maybe we're thinking that we should do some travel training, and where are they going to be going? So it's the only place where it's the crossroads, where we're taking people who are experts in all of their fields, and all of you are so willing to come together with your expertise in your fields, learn from each other, and figure out where these solutions can come. So this is a final picture, because often you hear or see the work that's happening at the East Central with mobility management and the RTCCs. Yesterday, when we all came together, I think it was a very powerful moment for all of us. This is the first time all mobility management managers have been able to come together. Unfortunately, the person from Hennepin County was sick and she could not come. So we're just missing, we're you know, it's kind of tough that we're missing one person. It's, we're a small and mighty and dedicated group. And as I say, a picture can say a lot. So I don't know, Karen, if you have other things to share. I'm going to step back a little bit from this, because one of the things we had the morning session with FTA, which was very, very dynamic, working in small groups, metro mobility managers working with non-metro mobility managers, learning from each other. But in the afternoon, we asked the mobility managers to take the time and to set their own agenda and break it out to their own types of workshops and ideas and information exchange. That cannot happen unless the mobility managers themselves work with each other, and their generosity and sharing ideas. This is very unique. This actually knocked the socks off of FTA when we told them what the afternoon was going to be about. I said, yep, we're stepping away. It's the mobility manager's afternoon. And that's one of the reasons why we're gaining traction as a solid mobility management network in Minnesota, is because of how the RTCCs interact with each other and within their community and with all of you as stakeholders. But likewise, they can't get their energy or get their work done without all of you. So you're like the first stop of the engine. So I just want to acknowledge that. And if there's any questions, let me know.
Michelle, I just want to add that your slides are right on, because even though you weren't there in the afternoon, we had a lengthy discussion. One of our topics kind of morphed into a lengthy discussion about serving veterans and working with veteran services. So you know, trying to get them to come to the table and serve those folks. But that's exactly what our discussion revolved around. So that's very interesting that you came to the table this morning with those slides. So thank you.
And I think another thing that happened during the meeting in the afternoon was we were all there, and we were all paying attention to each other, and we're all finding common ground and the commonality when Shelley was talking about the veteran services, and you know, we're all nodding our heads, and you know, it was just really interesting because we have this network, and because we were all together face to face yesterday. Now we have people that we can, well, not that we didn't before, but we feel that we know them better, and we want to work with people that we know. We have this all in common. It's really cool. It's really cool.
I think one of the more dynamic comments is that when our two FTA facilitators were there, and we spent quite a bit of time in small groups, and they went around and they listened to conversations, they didn't know who is urban and who is rural. Because of the types of conversation, they were very struck by the similarities in which the issues were framed, which is really something. Well, thank you for letting me debrief and share this with you.
Thank you. Yeah, we got the color on the car. That was kind of a
Well,
new
that
thing.
was the other part. I did want to say that. So I want to actually mention this to all of you. This is the Minnesota Go van, and they have special chalk, and you can color on the car. And we had to do it very quickly because all the WASPs in Minnesota are sitting outside of the MnDOT office in St. Cloud. So we were dive bomb. But this vehicle is available if you are going to be having any sort of outreach activity. So I wanted to mention, I know, Karen, that you have the county fair. If this is of interest of you, you can contact us, because we as MnDOT staff have to drive it up and be there. But, you know, we could bring it up for a day and have the community come on up and draw on there and so on and so forth, and just really have a good time. All the pictures that I have seen of this MnDOT at outreach activities, it's always adults drawing on the car. I've never seen kids. I don't know. I think adults have just as much fun. So that's something for you, for any of you to think about if you would like to do this. It comes like with a bit of a tent and a table and giveaway stuff to people. So, you know, let us know.
That's what I was going to ask. How far in advance do we need to request it? Do you know?
I think you probably every day. I have no idea. I would think this the more time lead time you have, the better.
Is it out and about a lot?
Pardon me?
Is it out at events a lot?
I don't know.
Okay.
This is kind of new. I think this might be like the first year of this.
Oh, okay.
I think it would be really fun, and Helen, you may want to chime in here, but it might be kind of fun to put it right in our building. Oh, well, she said for Opportunity Community Connect. You know, that's a possibility to have it out in the parking lot, because that's all kids. I don't know. I think, you know, for it, we'll need to talk further about that. Yeah.
I'll let you think about it. Yeah.
I think the county fair would be great. We could make it the centerpiece of the building, put it right inside the building. Well, maybe there's not enough room, but that would be pretty cool. It would get people into our building, that's for sure. That was fun. Yeah. I have bees right in if I had glasses on, they would have gone right into my glasses, I swear. And I'm deathly allergic. So that would have been fun. All right. Well, thank you. Any
Sure.
questions for Michelle? Okay. The next, thank you again, Michelle. The next thing up on the agenda, I have on there the tally of current survey results. I did look at it recently on SurveyMonkey, and it's going to be a really interesting, enlightening report when it's done. So we are still working on it, but and so you'll get a chance to see it later on this year. I was wondering if anybody on the call today would be interested in being on the radio, possibly a week from tomorrow, with me on KBEK, talking about transportation and your organization, in a probably affiliation with the RTCC, or, you know, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, you know, I'm trying to work this so that it helps promote your organization, but also the RTCCs and transportation issues. Would anybody on the call like to be? It's a recorded interview in Mora, or you can call in and we can talk about whatever. We can work it out ahead of time. And it's only 15 minutes at the most. and then she will edit it. This is Robin Riley on KBEK, and it'll be aired probably the following Friday. It's fun, actually. I mean, it's nothing scary because, you know, she edits it. Boy, crickets.
And if you, you know, think about it later, you can always email.
Yeah, because we do this once a month, so.
Or if there's someone in your organization that, you know, Tony, if one of your aging services for folks wants to come on and talk about issues that they see for the older adults that they serve, it could be somebody else.
Yeah, I've done Quebec stuff before too. I just feel a little too far out of the loop as a subject matter expert with the RTC stuff right now, but it's definitely an issue that comes up, so I could talk to a few staff and see if they can make it relatable. I mean, we know it's a problem, we know the issue,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't be able to speak to some of the solutions you guys are bringing up today.
No, but
You wouldn't have to.
One of the other things I was thinking is one of the food shelf managers, you know, and it could be a call for volunteers to specifically get people to the food shelf, something like that.
We're looking for volunteers for a doorstep program where we deliver food out to the community.
Yep.
So what date do you want to know by?
Well, I'm going to set up the interview with Robin today, tomorrow, make sure she's available on Friday, and I'll let you know. So it doesn't matter, whenever you can. If it's not going to be you, hold on, sorry about that. If it's not going to be you, it'll be just me because Michelle Thomas is out of town. The idea maybe like I just got a chat message from Michelle Lichtig that maybe we pull in Elliot McFadden. But you know, if you would, but Tony, if you would be interested, even if we don't do it this month, we do it every month.
Well, the funny thing is I think it was yesterday or the day before, I literally talked to our advancement staff because I think we have a contract with Happy Productions. And so I need to find out more what we're paying for and if some of that's to get some airtime somehow. So this is good timing to bring up. So I'll bring it back to staff.
Okay. Why don't I'll just reach out to you and just kind of remind you, and then you can get back to me and we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, Tony. Okay, let's see. Now we're going to move into the service provider updates, and I see Rhonda is not here, but Tammy Seelan, hi, and you're here. I don't know if you can talk at all about what's going on with TriCap Public Transit, but I know you're working with the volunteer driver program. So would you
Yep, I really can't about the transit. I better stay away from that. I want to say something wrong there, but I can about the volunteer driver program. So I joined TriCap almost a year ago as the volunteer driver program manager. And since that time, one of the first goals was to get more volunteer drivers. And so we put out a advertising, and I've been pounding the pavement. And so we've added 11 new drivers in 2023 so far. And we have 2 more, I think, are going to be starting this week. So we're up to 31 volunteer drivers, which has helped us to increase our ride from last year so far to date at about 25% increase. So rides through August this year is 7,149, where last year to this time was only 5,524. So getting the additional drivers has really helped us to increase our rides. So, and another thing is with having the additional riders, the thing that we really like is we don't have to deny rides. We used to have to send back a lot of rides we were given, and now we are down to like, well, we had 1 month with 0, and we're down to like 10 to 15 ride turn back. So that's really big. It used to be 100 or even close to 200. We also got the Age Friendly grant. And so we hired a consultant to help with, we're doing surveys and focus groups, and she'll be helping to put together a report. We're trying to look at people in outlying areas or the small towns where people are having a hard time getting to appointments. Might not just be right in their own area, but a lot of people need rides to an appointment that might be in the Twin Cities area, just a long distance. And right now, if they have a funding source that'll pay for that, a county, Medica, or Blue Ride, then they can get that paid for. And those are the rides we do. But we also do self-pay rides. And that turns out to be 89 cents per mile. And so one of our goals is to maybe get some funding to help compensate those rides. For example, we had a person in Bruton who called us, and she just needed a ride to the cities for an appointment. And that would have costed her, I believe it was like $117 to pay the 89 cents per mile fee. So she was willing to pay, but she just didn't have that much. So it'd be nice we're kind of working towards getting some kind of compensation. So even if they had to pay for part of it, we could compensate the rest of the ride. And so they're able to still get to their appointment. Another thing is we would like to see that we're trying to work on is to see if there's places like assisted living places or a community that might need transportation for a group of people to go shopping or to get their daily chores done or just to do everyday living. So we have just a lot of ways to get people rides that expanding on what we currently do, which just is funded rides. And so we're working on that. We get a lot of calls. I just had a call yesterday from a person who is just looking to get rides for a person who is in a assisted living, just to get to like the grocery store, just get to pick up prescriptions and such. So just kind of, I'm keeping track of all the calls we get in for the needs for transportation and different types of needs. And so hopefully down the road, with the help of this grant, and we also applied for the Live Well at Home grant, we can maybe work into getting, one of our goals is to get vans. That would be with the Live Well at Home, so that we could use even a volunteer driver that would drive a van, but maybe get a stipend. Because that is one of the things that hold back some people from being a volunteer driver is they don't want to put all those miles on their own car. But I kind of keep those in a separate list because they said they maybe join us if they could use a company provided vehicle and they would still be a volunteer driver. So just have a lot of things in the works, I guess.
I first of all want to say kudos to you. I mean, you're making so much of a difference, and thank you. I think having a volunteer driver person focused on that within an organization, a volunteer driver recruiter like you, makes such an impact. It is such an important role that you're playing, and that's just wonderful. Thank you for that. I also wanted to ask you if you were if you've seen the emails that I've been putting out about the transportation and chronic disease treatment that we're doing in, I know what county is it? Carlton County on September 26th. It goes from 9 to 3. It's in their Carlton Transportation Building. And what we're working with is Fresenius, particularly because we've got people who have chronic kidney problems and they can't get to their appointments. And we need to figure out a solution to that. And we're working with Arrowhead on this, and we're trying to get people there that can help us come up with solutions.
Yeah, I'm actually going to that.
Oh, well, I just had a mouthful of words that I really didn't even have to say.
That's okay. That's good though. But no, yeah, I'll be there.
Good.
But anybody else that wants to join us on this call, everyone is welcome. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a very, very, very important meeting, and It's going to be a bit of a drive, but it's going to be interesting. It'll be fun. I've also got to call into Amy Klobuchar because I'm trying to pull her into this a little bit. We're trying to get mayors and other folks involved because they need to, you know, well, I'm sure well, we want them to be more aware of the situation. Great. Well, thanks, Tammy. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
Let's see here. Brandon. Brandon, do you want to give us a little update on Arrowhead? Hi.
Hi. So we actually don't have much of an update. Most everything that we're doing right now is internally focused. With the new change in leadership, we're doing a change in processes and that sort of thing. So there's not a whole lot of expansions or new programs or changes in our services right now. So I guess the only thing I can say is we're still continuing to look for employees, and hopefully we'll have enough before I retire.
Okay. Is that in the works here soon or?
No.
Okay, good. Okay.
Way to be optimistic, Brandon.
Oh my. Okay. Well, thank you. So let's see here. Well, Helen, hi. How are you doing? Why don't you give your update?
All right. Well, we are very excited to welcome Chris Fornes as the operations supervisor. He started on Monday and is working very hard to get up to speed, which is so welcome. We're the MnDOT grant application, all the finalities are tomorrow. So we're getting ready to close that out. Much like Brandon, there's no expansion to be talked about. It's kind of going to be a status quo budget going forward. Still contemplating some ideas with volunteer drivers, using agency vans like what Tammy talked about. I think that's going to be where we're going to go. We have some issues with, being able to give them any kind of money or reimbursement or anything. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but it's something that we're still looking at. So the big thing is to get the MnDOT grant and the budget stuff behind us, and to have Chris on board is such a relief. Chris was with Industries for a long time, and a few places in between, but he comes with a lot of experience, and we're really glad to have him. So that's my update.
That's got to be a load off your shoulders to have somebody now taking the reins.
Yeah.
Good for you, Helen. Happy for you. Excellent. Thank you. Let's see. Who is on the call here at 320-532-7438? Mike, is that you? Are you in two places? Okay, we don't know. All right. Does anybody else have any updates from the rest of you? Would you like to chime in? Would you have anything you would like to bring up for the good of the order, as they say?
I don't know how relevant some of this information is to share, but just a couple things to do with transportation with us, with Family Pathways. The one thing I already mentioned with our doorstep delivery program, we're trying to expand that in our service area. So looking for ways to get more additional volunteer drivers, because we don't have enough staff to keep up with the demands. We are also looking at revising a policy that we have in place around staff and their ability to drive clients around the community. So currently they're not allowed to do that. So we're trying to figure out ways, if we're serving someone and they need a ride somewhere, usually shows up in the domestic violence, sexual assault realm, more so than others. So there's a barrier there when we're trying to help somebody in a situation and they don't have transportation to our shelter, or transportation to a hospital, or transportation to a safe place. So that's just something internally we're looking at. We also restructured somewhat at the agency. We're centralizing our facilities and fleet under we're centralizing it. So Chris Lenzen, who's our social enterprise director, he's also in charge of facilities and fleet now. And so I don't know what that really means for this group, other than at some point, maybe he might be interested in some of the work we're doing with this group. I don't know, just on a personal level, I had my brother over this weekend, and he's low income. He's a double leg amputee. He has prosthetics though. He can still drive his Harley Davidson, so you know he still has mobility. But I just thought it was interesting because he didn't drive his motorcycle. He was at my house. He's trying to get back home to Columbia Heights, and so he's trying to use think what's called, the connectability program that uses Lyft. I think he has a waiver thing that he can use for that. And, it was probably going on about an hour and a half and still didn't have a person to drive him from Cambridge to Columbia Heights, back down. And so I just thought, well, I wonder where all that those ideas are going in our area around Lyft and Uber, stuff like that. And we don't have to get into it right now, but I just letting you know that, yeah, I see it happen personally. And then, so I think about that in our communities. How's that being utilized or not? Yeah, visits to the food shelves are up. Cost for food is up. Donations are down. And so that's food access has really been one of our priorities right now at the organization. So.
Well, to speak to the Lyft situation, anybody can become a Lyft driver. And if you go through the channels through Lyft, it's just the problem of being in such a rural area, the pay, because of the lack of, consistent rides, it hasn't been working very well. I do know though that Attaboy, they are kind of focusing on the Duluth more now. Michelle Thomas, just correct me if you heard differently, but seems like they are kind of looking more north, and we're trying to get them to look more south. But we have been talking with Kelly. They're under new management, I'm sure you know, but well, as of about a year. But they are possibly looking at an ADA compliant vehicle, and we are also we are working with them on that and what they could maybe do to convert a vehicle that they already have or purchase a new vehicle. Michelle, you may want to talk to the group a little bit about the loan program and what we approached Kelly with, and she got very excited about it. But this week's gone to the anyway. We'll bring that back into conversation next week. We'll get back with her and see where she's at. Her husband's a mechanic, so he could probably put something together that would be an ADA accessible mechanical thing in the vehicle. I don't know how, but you guys know how to do it, and you can, yeah. So, Michelle, do you want to talk to us about the loan program that was approved?
So another hat I wear is we have a revolving loan program under the regional development organization, and we have now 4 different pipelines for program funding into that loan program. And we've been working on transportation issues and the need for more transportation companies and vehicles on the road to get people to various places. And we've been talking, working on childcare issues and solutions as well. And so we presented to our board, and they agreed to offer childcare providers of any kind and transportation providers in our region, either new, emerging, existing, want to expand, the opportunity for a loan at 0% interest up to 20,000. And then they also could apply, our top limit is 60,000. So that additional 40 could be loaned to them at, I think, prime, which I think right now is it was a couple weeks ago at 4.5%. And the banks are upper 8%, or they were at that time. So it's a drastic savings for them. So potentially someone could get 60,000 at a very low interest rate if they needed it. Our loan process is that they fill out a loan application that's on our website, supply the documentation that's listed, projections, tax returns, so on, P&L, balance sheet, and they meet with the loan board, who has an opportunity then to ask them questions, get to know them a little bit better, their background, and then they're dismissed, and the loan board it makes a decision. They discuss, and I can call them usually within an hour to say yay or nay, or they need additional documentation or whatever. So it's a fairly easy process. I do have to say, I think we've only had one, possibly two loans that didn't go well in the 27 years that we've been doing loans. So the loan board's a really great judge of character, I guess, kind of from a non-technical bank perspective. They really get to know the applicant well. And that board is bankers, lawyers, people from our board, or from the regional development board. So it's a good mix of folks, and they ask a lot of really good, insightful questions. So, but it's a fairly easy process for someone to apply. So please tell people to apply if they need to. So, and they can feel free to call me, and I can, kind of give them a heads up if they need to beef something up or whatever. So we're excited about that, because there are a lot of smaller companies, especially in the transportation world, that we're hoping this will help, and then help our transportation pipeline. So
Yeah, it's exciting if anybody wants to start up a business, or, I don't know if the
just
word
simply
taxis.
expand. Yeah.
Yeah, expand. Yeah. So that's really good news for anybody who would be interested, or know of anybody who might be interested. Okay. Well, I think Michelle has already done her update, because that's what that was. Does anybody have anything else that you'd like to bring up at this meeting? Otherwise, we will adjourn. But before we do, just want to let you know that the next meeting is not until November 9th. You have a little time in between there. Again, it's the same link and all that. Hopefully I won't have problems. But you guys did great without me. Thank you. So the upcoming meetings, as you have on your agenda, you could take a look at those and plug those into your calendar for the rest of the RTC fiscal year, which goes until June. So that's what I've got. And I thank you all for coming and for spending some time with us. And if you have any questions along the way or comments, please feel free to shoot them over to Michelle or I. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
You too.
Mm.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, you want to stay on for a sec?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tammy. I think that's Mike.
Okay. which is fine. Now I'm still recording, so I'm gonna stop, but I don't know where that recording lives now.
I know. Okay, what's going to happen is when you stop it, a little screen's gonna come up and it's going to say, would you like to, it's gonna convert. It's gonna take a little bit of time. Once it'll go into your videos. So, I think it might even say where
Okay.
it's gonna go, but I'll need that, because I need to turn that into a YouTube. And that's a process with a program that I bought.
Okay.
But we'll work that out. But yeah, if you get it to,
Okay, I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna hit stop recording.